What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to a new top 5 best guns in Battlefield 2042. This is a updated version since Season 4. I got a lot of questions about people making it updated because there's a bunch of new weapons, of course, arriving with Season 4. And on the 7th of March, there will be a lot of new players arriving with PlayStation Plus. So I thought it was a good time to update everyone on what are the top 5 best guns. The order in this, it can be debated, but I feel like these are definitely at least one of the best weapons in the game. At the end, I'll leave some honorable mentions. Also, I'll be going through the attachments that I use on the gun, so you know what I recommend using for what I think at least makes the gun as best as it possibly can be. So let's get right into it. On number 5, we have a Season 4 weapon, and it is the new assault rifle, the RM68. It is more of a long-range assault rifle, so if you have more of a defensive playstyle, you're gonna like this. The reason why it's not up higher is because up close you're gonna be losing a little bit more gunfights, especially with the setup that I'm using. You can use close combat rounds, which makes the gun a little bit faster, but I think it loses the purpose. So this RM68, it beams players across the map. It has an insane headshot multiplier. You can do a minimum of 47 damage per shot on the headshot, so it can be 3-shot headshot pretty much across any range, which is actually incredible. The gun can kill extremely quick from mid to long range, so if you're more of that type of player or the map just suits it better, this is going to be a gun you would want to use. So for the attachments, I'll be going quickly through them. I use the thermal 1.25 or the 2 times. I gotta switch around, you know, if there's a bunch of smoke spam, you want to be using the 2 times instead of the thermal. Then I have the extended standard issue. I have the SDNR laser. This gun is a little bit weird. You have either the SDNR laser or the MGL laser. They both do the exact same. This one is blue, this one's green. So I like the blue one more, that's literally the only reason. But this also reduces the recoil, so it makes it a little bit more beamy than it already is. And you can even go for close range gunfights, because the hipfire on this gun is actually surprisingly decent for its rate of fire. So I would recommend using this. And then I actually have the standard silencer and not the short barrel silencer, which a lot of you guys probably would be using. This would make the gun a little bit aggressive, and normally I always go with short barrel, but I feel like with this one I can be a little bit more accurate with my bullets and kill more players with one mag, and this suits the playstyle of the gun a little bit better. So I recommend going with this. If you're a little bit more of an aggressive player and you want to be playing aggressive, you don't want to adapt to the gun, go with the short barrel. It's very good as well. You will just be able to kill a few less players with this than going with the normal suppressor, and the bullet velocity is super good on this gun. That's why I recommend using this. So up next we have the AC-42. This is a bit of a gun that requires a bit to get used to, I feel like, out of all the weapons I'm putting in the top 5. The AC-42 also a gun that's being slept on a lot. I don't see a lot of people use it for how good this gun can be. This gun can potentially one burst if you had at least one of your bullets to be a headshot, then you can literally one burst players with this. And I've had this happen a lot where I win up close range gunfights versus SMGs or even shotguns because I kill them with one burst. So yeah, it takes a little bit to get used to. It can be a little bit awkward to use up close, which is a general thing with burst weapons, but this gun can absolutely beam. The only problem with this gun is the bullet velocity. It is extremely slow, so going for long range targets requires a little bit of practice. For the attachments, I use the thermals here as well, but I also really like the Fusion Hollow. I would recommend the Fusion Hollow if you're not a big fan of thermal size. But I have the 1.25 thermal and the 2.5 thermal, which both are very good. So I use all 3 of these sights. You definitely should go with the standard issue extended mag. Then I have the LWG grip. If you don't use Mikael or you don't like strafing while shooting, then go with the Cobra 4 grip. Otherwise, stick with the LWG grip. The laser is also very useful, as this gun can actually have a pretty good hipfire chance at winning gunfights. Then I have the tactical compensator, which increases the recoil, but it reduces the weapon spread, which makes the gun a lot more accurate. So where you're shooting, your bullets will go more often and your accuracy will increase. But it increases the recoil as well, which I don't personally find a big problem on burst weapons. So that's why I use it, and I always have a suppressor as backup. Next up, we have a SMG, the PP29. This is definitely the best SMG in the game. There, in Season 4, we had the AC9, which arrived, which is also extremely good. I feel like the PP29 is just one of the most versatile weapons in this game. You can use it in almost any possible situation, which I really like it for, and it's got a bunch of bullets. So the combination with it not having a lot of recoil, it has a lot of bullets, the hipfire is good. The only down part is you can lose gunfights versus higher rate of fire weapons, but I think the versatility of this weapon just makes it so good, and I feel like it's also kind of being slept on since I don't really die to this gun that often, and I generally think this gun is by far the best SMG in the game. Of its versatility. It's not really being used necessarily as an SMG as much as the higher rate of fire ones, because the up close range gunfights are going to be a little bit harder. It's still very good at it. Now make it sound like it's bad at close range gunfights. It's just a little worse than the higher rate of fire SMGs in the same class. But the versatility with the low recoil, 64 bullets, it makes it a really good weapon. For the attachments, the Fusion Hollow, I don't really use a lot of attachments, a lot of people get surprised by this. Then I use the standard issue rounds, which is a must. These two I find like they are a must, the Fusion Hollow and the standard issue round. Then I have the thermal as backup, which is actually quite useful because it's a low recoil weapon. Then you cannot have any factory mounts. And I use the factory barrel, which a lot of people are surprised. You can try and mess around with these. But I've been using the factory barrel for the longest time, and I don't really feel like a need to switch because the gun just feels really good this way. And I have the rep suppressor as backup, which I actually use a lot. It only reduces the bullet speed, so if you're in close range situations and you put up the rep suppressor, you're pretty much not really gonna feel down part, except for you're not appearing on the minimap as much as you would without using. So rep suppressor is actually definitely recommended. So the next weapon, I put this on number 1 in the previous top 5. Nothing has changed, but I decided to put it to number 2 this time because I feel like the number 1 weapon is still just a little bit better and a little bit more versatile than this one. However, it's probably one of the fastest killing guns in the game, the AM40 assault rifle. This arrived with Season 2. It has an extremely high rate of fire. It doesn't really play like an assault rifle, so if you don't have an aggressive playstyle, this is also why I downgraded to number 2. This might not be a gun you're gonna enjoy using that much, but if you have an aggressive playstyle, this is your go-to gun. The reason why this is so high up, higher than SMGs, even though it plays like an SMG, is because it has a headshot multiplier of ARs, which is, I believe, 2.15 if I'm correct, which means up close you can two-shot players, and with the high rate of fire of the AM40 there's no way to react to that. You can quickly peek, get headshots, and it will feel like you got sniped pretty much. That's how fast it kills. The hip fire is really good. So yeah, the only down part is that it gets quite a bit of spread for range kills. So if you want to go for more open maps, this might not be the gun to go with, but in any other situation this gun absolutely dominates with the high rate of fire. For the attachments, I use the Fusion Hollow. I have the thermal, don't really use that much. Drum mag is definitely recommended. Then I have the MGL laser, which reduces the recoil. It's more detectable though, and increases the hipfire accuracy as well. And then I have the tactical compensator. This allows me, if you're good at controlling recoil, I would recommend using this because it increases the weapon accuracy. So if you're good at controlling recoil, then go with this one. You can pick up players from a pretty decent range with this because the spread gets reduced. So if you're accurate with it, you can actually pick up players from a mid-range, which you couldn't do before. For the last gun, we have the SFAR, which I think still is the best gun, and it's been the best gun in the game for a while now. This gun can do anything, and the insane part with it is it literally can out-snipe players. That's how good the gun is. It kills super quick, the damage drop-off is not a lot, and even up close, if you get your headshots right, you can out-kill SMGs because, again, that headshot multiplier, that is so good. Of course, you have the grenade launchers as well on top of that to make the gun even better. There's not really any down parts of this weapon, maybe besides that the rate of fire is a little bit slow, so you can lose gunfights up close if you don't hit your headshots. But other than that, this gun can pretty much do anything better than other weapons. So through the attachments, again I use the Fusion Hollow. I've been experimenting a little bit with the thermal sights. I must say that I really stick to the Fusion Hollow though still. I got the high power drum mag as backup. Then I use the high explosive rounds, and I have the Arkham Tactical Muzzle Brake. This increases the vertical recoil, but it reduces horizontal recoil. For me, it feels like it gets a little bit more controllable, and I can cover more range with it, because vertical recoil is easier to control than horizontal recoil. And I wanted to go for honorable mentions. These are weapons that I think you should at least try out, and I think are worth a spot, because they're extremely good. One of them is the new Season 4 weapon, the AC9. Very high rate of fire weapon. If you're an extremely aggressive player that likes to hip fire a lot, the AC9 is very good. It's definitely the second best SMG in the game, below the PP29. Plays very different though, definitely more of an aggressive playstyle. Then the M5A3, one of the starter weapons, one of the best assault rifles in the game. Also a little bit more on the aggressive side for assault rifles. Then we have the shotgun, the 12M. This is a weapon that, this is the only shotgun that I'm going to put in the top 5, because the weapons in Battlefield 2042 are not very good for shotgunning. But if they are, then the 12M is going to be your go-to. Gun is super good, especially when you start unlocking the right attachments for it. And then I have the LCMG. I think a lot of LMGs deserved in some way to be in the top 5, but I find it hard to, they're not really handling friendly, for the reason that if you don't have good reaction time, you're going to be losing a lot of gunfights, and you need to have an adaptive playstyle for them, because they the strafing speed is slower. So there's some down parts of an LMG in general, but for the right maps, most LMGs in general are super good to use. With the LCMG in particular, low recoil, and it absolutely kills extremely quick. So that's gonna be it for the top 5 guns. Hope you guys enjoyed. If it was useful, be sure to drop a like, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.